Good morning.
The background noise, Chairperson.
Chair, you're gone. He's
Yeah.
gone.
Who is gone?
There's a lot of Chair, there's a lot of noise or music in the background.
Yeah, I was double dipping on the other thing. My apologies. I was trying to double dip. You see, you want to learn new things at the wrong time. I can see. I can't see my picture. Do you see my picture?
Yes, Chairperson.
You can see it. It's bright. You're too bright. There's lights.
Yeah, at least there is no load shedding here. Thank you very much. Let's start. I will later on remove my picture because it might affect my sound. But thank you very much. Welcome to members of the Portfolio Committee. Let's have the moment of silence for meditation and or prayer. Thank you very much. The meeting is duly opened. Item 24.
Morning, Chairperson.
Yes.
There's an
No,
Chairperson.
But we can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Unless it is only me.
Mr. Sega?
Yes, you can hear you. Continue, Lucifer.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear.
Yes.
Not the chair.
Okay. There is an apology from the. Okay. There is an apology from the executive mayor of Mopani District Municipality, is attending to another urgent meeting. He will be represented here by MC Mr. Lucky Muhlala.
No, hello,
Chairperson.
Chairperson.
Chairperson. He is in Mpumalanga for the Provincial Week program.
No, everything you said was not heard. Everything. Get a proper spot and repeat what you said, because we had nothing of what you said.
Chairperson.
Yeah, repeat what you said. Yes, repeat what you said. What did you say? Anyone who heard what Nosipo said, can she tell the meeting what he said?
Talent?
Repeat what you said, Nosipo.
Okay, Chairperson, I'm saying there's an apology from the Executive Mayor of Mopani District Municipality, Mr. Shai. He will be represented by Mr. Laki Mushlala. And also there is an apology from DM Mahlobo. He is in Mpumalanga for the Provincial Week program. That is all.
Chairperson?
Yes. Yes, Honorable Mushala.
Suppose we accept the apology for the mayor of Mopani, unless if there's a valid reason, not just to say that he's represented by somebody else. I propose that we don't accept his apology. Thank you.
No, I started hearing in the middle, Honorable Mushala. What did you say?
I'm saying I propose that we don't accept the apology for the mayor of Mopani, unless if there's another reason beside the reason he stated here that he's going to be represented by somebody else. So let's not accept that apology unless if there's another reasons, maybe if it's not a reason that is not mentioned in this meeting, which is maybe very important for us maybe to listen to. But this one of just choosing to be represented by somebody else when he's supposed to be here himself, I propose that we don't accept that apology. Thank you.
In actual fact, yes.
I just received an email now that says he has a meeting with the US Council, so he might join a little bit later.
No, even if that is the case, we shouldn't accept that point. Remember when we were in the Pompo, we struggled to get Mopani coming to our meetings. With their absence, we gave them a responsibility to reticulate, and we allowed them to appoint contractors to do work on our behalf. It is now the time that the executive must come and account as the mayor of what is it he did on the mandate we gave to him to answer the concerns of the people of Mopani. He can't choose to go to other meetings when this meeting was long agreed. And I want to agree with Honorable Mutala that we need to, the mayor must be in the meeting. If he is not, then it means Mopani will not be accounting to this issue. I don't know who is Mr. Mutala, what is he doing, what is his responsibilities in the municipality, and so forth and so on. It's just that we're being given a name. With no reason why is that name. But as a matter of responsibility in absentia, remember, now he does not want to come and account whether he used the money, he did the work agreed, what is the progress. We have received quite a lot of complaints about things that are not being done in Mopani. And here is an opportunity for them to come and clear that issue. He's not in the meeting. I don't know who is Mr. Mutala. Maybe we need to get a little bit deeper. Why is he mandated? Is he MMC for infrastructure? What is it? But I agree with Honorable Mutala. The mayor must be in the meeting. And I'm sure Mopani must clear us on those issues that we are raising.
Yes, Chairperson, good morning. This is Tepo Magano, the municipal manager for Mopani. May I please come in?
No, not you, sir. Not the municipal manager. We want politicians.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson. That's MMC's FUFI, MMC for Water and Sanitation. It was unfortunate because I was driving. I was on my way coming to Polokwane. I didn't hear what you have said, but on behalf of the Executive Mayor, Honorable Chairperson, with due respect, I'm here.
We want to know why is he not here, and why must we accept his apology?
Honorable Chairperson, I think in terms of the absentia of the executive mayor is due to other unforeseen commitment that is beyond his control. That's why he found himself not being here.
No, that's what we said we don't accept. You remember we were with you in our visit in Mopani. We raised his absence in the meeting. We only have you working with us the whole visit. And
Yes.
you still want to do that? No, we are not accepting that view. No. That's the point we are raising. What is for unforeseen? Why is it unforeseen when this meeting was long planned? Why is it unforeseen? We will listen to the Department of Water and Sanitation on the progress made. We will await the mayor to log in wherever he is to report to us. This is virtual meeting, it's not physical. He can talk to us from wherever he is. He must talk to us. But it means then the presentation that we want to hear, we will get it from the Department of Water and Sanitation as mandated by the last meeting to give certain responsibilities to you, and you must have reported to the progress as made. What is it? So the Department of Water and Sanitation will give us that. We will not listen to the district mayor who is absent in the meeting. It is wrong. No, Sipa, did you invite the Department of Water and Sanitation, say for Mr. Mahlobo, who is apologizing? But Mr. Mahlobo can also log in Mpumalanga. He can log in there from Mpumalanga. If indeed it's only him who was supposed to be in the meeting, if there is other executive like the minister, the deputy minister, Shabalala, it's acceptable. But if there is none, it was him who was supposed to come. He must log in from Mpumalanga.
Thank you, Chairperson, Honorable Chabalala here, Judith. Minister is here and myself were here in the meeting.
No, that's fine. Acceptable. The executive is represented. So I'm sure then we need to get a progress report from the Department of Water and Sanitation on the work given to Mopani, whether they are doing their work and so forth and so on. But it is clear that the mayor of Mopani does not want to give us a briefing.
Well, I take it that the chair is giving us the platform as a department.
Yes,
and if
yes,
so,
yes.
okay.
Yes,
no, thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Water and Sanitation, Tate Mashego. I want to greet my colleague in the ministry, Deputy Minister Shabalala, and want to acknowledge DG, Dr. Sean Phillips, and DG Rismati and other managers, the top managers that are here on the platform. Chair, I just propose that I hand over to DG, and once they have had the opportunity to present, we can then make comments on a number of areas in the interest of time. So DG, I hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Good morning, Chairperson and honourable members. The presentation will be made by DDG Mate. Over to you, Rizzi Mate.
Thank you, DG. Morning, Chairperson, and to the Minister and DMs. I'm just testing and to see if I'm audible enough, Chair.
You are very clear.
Okay, and cool. I'm going to take you through the presentation on the Giyani water services. And our content, Chair, is basically just to give a background. We are going to give an update to the committee specifically on the Nandoni water pipeline or the bulk line. And we're also going to give an update or progress on the water services, and also the Nandoni, water treatment works, the upgrades thereof. We're also going to touch on the Nandoni Nsame pipeline project, which is quite not completed, but we'll go to the details. And then I will touch, Chair, on the upgrade of on the refurbishment of the Giyani or Nsame water treatment works. And then we'll also touch on the water services, the other bulk services. Then we'll conclude by giving an update on the reticulation of the 55 villages. The next slide, where I'm going to touch much on the Nandoni water services. This is just the background, Chair, which I think we have in the past spoken about, but we have included it so that we keep the whole conversation and the update thereof. This slide just indicates the origin or the genesis of the Nandoni dam, when it was established, also the capacity thereof. But to note there, Chair, is bullet number 2, which, as you might be aware, that we do have the Nandoni water treatment works, which is currently sitting at 60 megaliters per day. This is the treatment works which abstract water from the dam, cleans the water from that comes from the dam, and currently supplies much of the areas under Bembe district. And then we are also extending the very same supply. You will see in the later slides that we are also upgrading this treatment works from 60 megaliters to 120 megaliters, which also will be supplying parts of Collins Chabane under Bembe and also other areas. But we'll touch those later. The dam is classified as category 3, Chair. The capacity is indicated there at 164 million cubic meters. It's currently sitting at over 100%. And also it's designed to cater for at least over 1 million of the population in that region. This is just the background of the dam, and also when it was basically officially constructed back in 2005. We can go to the next slide. My slides are not moving. Yes. Then the next slide, Chair, is just to give a summary view of what I've just spoken about now, that the whole Nandoni water supply scheme, in complexity, is basically meant to supply water to Bembe district and also Mopani district. As you know, we are abstracting water from the dam, and then of which that ends in the Sami dam, which is supposed to supply areas of Mopani, but we'll get to that. So this is just a summary of what I've just spoken about in the previous slide, just to show the layout plan. Next slide.
Okay.
Chair, I won't actually touch much on this. Safe to say that this is basically the outline of all the pipelines. But what is crucial to see here, Chair, it's just to give a bit of an emphasis, is that if you are able to see the where I'm putting my cursor there, although I'm not controlling, but where you are seeing Nandoni water treatment works, that's basically where the dam is also located. And we are actually abstracting water from the dam and then clean it at the Nandoni water treatment works, the 60 megaliter water treatment works, which we are now upgrading to 120 megaliters. And as you see there, Chair, there are two lines that basically leaves the Nandoni vicinity there. One of which is the arrow at the bottom, the shorter line that goes to Nsami Giyani. That is the line that talks about the raw water bulk line, and which we will be presenting about now in the presentation, and also the other offtake which goes to other areas. But what is crucial to note, Chair, is the red lines, which also takes off from the Nandoni water treatment works. As you go down, you see the yellow highlighted boxes there. You see Mabambe reservoir, which is at 100%. You see also there's a pump station at 99%. And all those yellow highlighted shades, Chair, are feeding directly from the clean water pipeline. As the Chair and the committee might be already aware that leaving the very same vicinity of Nandoni water treatment works is two pipes. It's the raw water pipeline, which the shorter line which goes to Giyani, and also we have another line that leaves the very same treatment works, clean water, which must feed areas of Mabambe and also the other areas in Buwane. This line extends, Chair, all the way, if you look on the far left, to areas around Makado, Baldesia, and all the other areas. So those are areas that are going to be supplied by the clean water, which will be treated at the Nandoni water treatment works. And as I've indicated, Chair, that at the moment, that treatment works is sitting at 60 megaliters a day. The intention now is to upgrade it to 120 megaliters a day. And I think the committee will see later when we go to the compartment of this project, we will be talking specifically about the Nandoni water treatment works. We can move to the next slide. The next slide is just putting a bit more of an emphasis and a summary of what I've just spoken about now, Chair. That currently the first bullet talks of the current size of the water treatment works, which is the Nandoni water treatment works. It's currently supplying 58 megaliters a day. And of course, the question could be, why is it supplying 58 megaliters a day when it's supposed to be 60 megaliters a day? Chair, when water treatment works are designed, there is a spare capacity just to allow for treatment and facilitation. So that 2 megaliters a day is for circulation processes. However, in design, this treatment works is actually operating at full capacity. It's currently supplying about 72 villages out of 207. And the reason why we still have a gap there, Chair, is because as we extend the clean water pipeline to areas which I've shown in the yellow shaded areas, those villages that are not yet supplied by Nandoni water treatment works will start getting the supply. And hence, we are putting an emphasis that at the moment, there's about 43 villages under Vende that are being supplied out of 72, while the others are actually receiving water on the rationing processes, because the water treatment works have to be upgraded to at least 120 megaliters. And Chair, we have been given an update that in some of the areas that are short supplied now in the rationing, there are some boreholes that are in the areas where people are getting water through a borehole system. Of course, the intention is that as soon as the treatment works run to full capacity, then people will be getting a direct supply from the Nandoni water treatment works. Chair, current demand is about 207 villages, as I've mentioned, with about 198.8 megaliters, which is almost 100 megaliters. And if, Chair, you may put the numbers, you'll realize that as soon as we upgrade that treatment works from 60 to 120, definitely we'll be able to meet the current and future demand. And we also want to put this on record, Chair, that There is actually a progress in the planning stage of the water treatment works for the Nandoni this time, which we want to upgrade from 60 to 120. That project should be going out on tender sometime in October. We are hoping that there should be site establishment before December, but you will see the details as we go specifically to the Nandoni water treatment works. I'm just giving some of the precursors as I proceed with the presentation. That is funded through our RBIC as a department. And Chair, the last bullet is quite crucial, as the Chair might have seen, and as I put a pointer in the second bullet, that the intention of that water treatment work is to supply at least 207 villages. And as the treatment was get upgraded from 60 to 120, the intention of the department is not to stop there, Chair, it's to further increase another 60 megaliters so that we move it from 120 megaliters to 180 megaliters, at least by 2026. So these are the planned upgrade of that Nandoni water treatment works. We can move to the next slide. If we can move to the next slide, it's quite slow. Okay, Chair. So this current slide, it's already a summary view of what I've just spoken about now. This talks about the upgrade of the Nandoni water treatment works from 60 megaliters to 120 megaliters. The dates on the right are just showing how far we are, but safe to say that in the last bullet there of this table, we are just saying that all the preliminary design reports, the cost estimates and everything, Chair, were completed in July this year. So the rest of the other planning work, funding, getting the PSP, all the engineering studies have all been completed, and we are actually moving towards the implementation. You will see in the next slide as we roll over to the next slide. Next slide.
Mate,
Aye.
my team present, my past, present, and past and future tense.
Past, present,
Me too.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So Chair, as I will adjust my English here to learn about those terms again, the current progress, Chair, which is crucial to note on the Nandoni water treatment works is that, as I've indicated, the detailed design, which opened a space for us to now go out on tender, is going to be completed now in September. And as I've mentioned, we'll be going out on tender in October this year, with the tender going to close in November. And as I've indicated earlier on, that the intention is that we should be able to appoint the contractor before we go to the festive season in December, and that the construction for the upgrade of the Nandoni water treatment works from 62 megaliters will basically start when we open next year in January. Chair. So this is basically the project plan of how the Nandoni water treatment work is going to be upgraded to treat clean water from the 60 megaliters currently to 120 megaliters. Let's move to the next slide. Chair, this is the current status of water provision from Nandoni. We included this slide just to indicate the current supply capacity and where we have got the deficit. For instance,
No, colleagues, please mute your mics. Mute your mics. You are disturbing the presenter, please.
Thank you, Chair. So this slide, Chair, just the key issues to pick up is that we have done the projection, and as you see at the bottom there, the total says 98.8 megaliters. And as I've indicated in the previous slide, that the current projected demand for the Nandoni water treatment works after adding some of the villages, we are looking at 98.8 just on clean water. And there are around 207 villages that needs to be supplied from there. And there are about at least 72 settlements that are currently being served. But what is crucial to pick up from this slide, Chair, we wanted to just indicate and show the committee the various capacities and pipelines which are basically getting water from the Nandoni Dam. And as you can see there, the last column before the total, we've already integrated there the Nandoni Tunsami, the 49-kilometer pipeline, which will be at least pushing 17 megaliters a day, at least to those 55 villages, which we'll talk about. So this is an aerial view when we spoke about the 207 villages that are supposed to be supplied and how the apportioning of different demands for each and every area that will be supplied directly from the Nandoni Dam. So it is a big scheme. It's so many villages that have to be supplied. There's about 72, but there will still be more villages which will be supplied. And how will they be supplied, Chair? Some are going to be supplied because we are pushing, for instance, the raw water from Nandoni to Giyani. We are also upgrading the treatment works and getting more clean water to the treatment works, and then supply those areas as we have seen in the previous slides where we had those yellow shaded boxes. We can move to the next slide. If you can move to the next slide, it's quite slow on my side. Chair, okay, just move again. The next slide. Thank you, Chair. This one is the overview of the bulk line. I won't touch much onto it. It's safe to say that it just indicates the project in a broader sense. The Nandoni Tunsami project, the raw bulk line, the 40.5 kilometer diameter, which has now been laid and also completed. It just indicates the different components of that project, Chair, and also the project cost thereof, and also the timelines of when the project is basically started. Just to indicate some of the components like the pump stations, the associated chambers, and also the road and river crossings, and also the pipe sizes that have actually been laid on the ground. Can move to the next slide. Also, Chair, this slide just talks about the agreed approach to expedite the completion. Just to spend a moment on this, after the minister was appointed in 2021, part of which his commitment was to ensure that there is an acceleration in this project, and that the communities of Giyani should get more additional water from the raw water pipeline. Those interventions, Chair, resulted in the department to basically accelerate the project and also deal with some of the bottlenecks that were in the system. Now, one of the key issues was that the existing bulk line had to be finished so that we at least able to discharge water directly from the Nandoni Sami to the canal. As the Chair is aware that the Middle Letaba Canal upstream, we in the dry seasons, we're not actually getting enough water thereof, and also that we should also utilize the existing infrastructure, like areas around Mabambe, those communities there, they still had some of the services, so the upgrade of the treatment works and getting some of the clean water through will actually offer more support to those communities. So this was the overview approach on how the project is going to be integrated. Also, the fact that that pipeline comes from, as you see the line there on top, it leaves the whole treatment works. It indicates where it lands in Shipukwane. Chair, you are aware the way issues around that area, communities did manage to stop the project for a while because they felt they're not getting water from the municipality, and then they had issues in tapping to the old raw pipeline, but those issues have now been resolved and the project is basically completed. This is just to give an overview of the whole adaptive planning that was done to ensure that the project reached the finality. We can move to the next slide. Chair, the summary, this slide talks to the whole Nandoni to Sami bulk line. The project overall is sitting at 95.7%. We just left with the snake list. The pipeline is completed, the whole length of the pipe. The temporary connections, the river crossing are all finalized. And Chair, as you're aware that by April, we already had water, 5th of April rather. We managed to ensure that the project gets practical completion. Water for the first time in history arrived in Giyani, in this case, the canal in Shukukwane. And we then had to do the permanent sections. If Chair could remember, when you leave the Nandoni Dam, the water treatment works, there used to be a black pipeline there running across the river crossing, which was a temporary section. Chair, we can confirm without a doubt that that pipeline has now been decommissioned because we have now completed the permanent sections. And as you walk along that pipeline, you will remember that there were a couple of river crossings, Chair, where it was still not completed. We had the temporary bypass to get the water through. All those sections, Chair, have been completed. All river crossings have been completed as of August. So we are now having a permanent pipe that is running from Nandoni to Giyani on the raw water pipeline. And we are just now, the contractor is just basically doing some of the next list in terms of the cleaning and so forth. But safe to say that the whole project has basically been completed. You can move to the next slide. Yes, moving quite slowly on my side, Chair. Like you jumped a slide. Chair, I won't touch much on this. I think it's safe. We wanted to inform the committee on some of the challenges that were faced, the reasons for some of the delays. There was a couple of changes on the scope of work, Chair, to the project, the integration of the clean water pipeline, and also access being denied. The minister and the DM Matko were also in the front line of this. Also, DM Shabalala being involved in also attending to some of the community issues when we were denied access. So we have managed to resolve all those issues as a department. Issues of restrictions in the previous slide, Chair, I did indicate that there were issues, of course, with access restrictions around Shikukwane and Rusinga View. This is exactly where the water lands in the canal. The community did stop the project there for a while. However, we are grateful that all those issues are a thing of the past now. Of course, the floods also had an impact on delaying the project, but we felt it's crucial for us to highlight these issues in the summarization of what the impact they had on the project. Let's move to the next slide. And the next one, the treatment works. So, Chair, now we are done with presenting the Nandoni bulk line, which takes the raw water from the dam to Giyani at the canal for the water to end farming. Now, this part of the presentation seeks to present to the committee the current upgrade in the refurbishment of the Giyani water treatment works, which in essence will be receiving the same raw water, which will be leaving Nandoni to Nsami. As I've indicated before, Chair, the Nandoni dam is also supposed to extend to those 55 villages. You would have seen in the other few slides where I've put an emphasis that when we did the overall integration of what will be supplied from the Nandoni, we have already for now included as well those 55 villages. So those 55 villages will be getting a direct upgrade and supply of water from the Giyani water treatment works. The currently, Chair, there is a refurbishment work to get that water treatment works to its optimal capacity. It is a 30 megaliter water treatment works, but currently it's not operating at that capacity. It's actually operating at 17 megaliters a day. If you see that the third sub-bullet from the bottom, so it's operating at 17 megaliters a day. Now, the intention of the department for this phase one, Chair, is to refurbish that treatment works, get it back to its optimal capacity of 30 megaliters a day. The project has started in December. It's sitting now at 61%. It should be completed, Chair, by December this year, so that it operates at a full 30 megaliters a day. However, Chair, when that whole project is completed, the department is already at an advanced stage to say we are not going to stop at 30 megaliters a day. We're going to extend the capacity of that treatment works from 30 to 40 megaliters a day. And we are at an advanced stage in that planning with the intention that as at the first quarter of next year, 2024, which will be the first of our financial as a department, we intend to start upgrading that water treatment works from 30 to 40 megaliters. So that is basically the current and also what is planned for the future. So what we are submitting now, presenting to the committee, is that the water treatment works is not yet operating at full capacity, but the good news is by December, it should be fully operational at 30 megaliters, which will be able to give the residents of Giyani a better Christmas than they've had in the previous year, Chair, in terms of the challenges of water. Okay, move to the next slide. Move to the next slide. Chair, I'm going to just quickly move on this slide. When the water leaves the Nandoni as the first phase, the raw water, it ends in the canal, it goes to the water treatment works. Chair, there are about 8 pipelines. If you see there in colors, A, B, C, D, and F, there are about 8 pipelines, Chair, which when the water leaves the Nandoni, I mean the Giyani water treatment works after it has been cleaned, this water must be transmitted to those 55 villages. Now, leaving the water treatment works in Giyani are 8 different pipelines in different communities, which are meant to augment the clean water and supply those villages. So this schematic presentation is just to give a layout of where those pipelines are basically positioned. But you will see in the next slide, you will also see in the next slide how each pipeline is grouped to feed a particular number of communities or villages in that area of Giyani. So this is just to indicate a schematic layout, but you will see the further details in the next slide, how these pipelines are linked to different villages and how much progress has been made so far. Let's move to the next slide. Chair, this slide just indicates the current update and the progress thereof. Also to indicate the amount of money that has been invested in this project. But the key issue to pick up, Chair, is if you look at the bullet number 2 and the sub-bullet last there, 1, 2, 3, 4, it talks to the 55 villages. It talks to the length of the 325 rather kilometer of pipeline. So those 8 pipelines sections that are basically contributing to at least an amount of 325 kilometers of pipe length, and they supply those 55 villages as I've indicated. However, you would have been made aware, Chair, and even when the portfolio committee visited the Giyani, that there were still some of the villages which had water problems, and that there were questions asked also in the past on what actually happened to the issue of the boreholes that were installed in the area. We have included the information just to make the portfolio committee aware of the previous works back from 2014 to where we are. But I'm just zooming straight directly, Chair, to how the 8 pipelines are linked up to those 8 villages, the overall cost estimate, and the current progress to date, and you will see in the next slide. However, I must emphasize here, Chair, that the construction of those 8 bulk lines is basically done by our DWS construction unit, where Lepel Water Board is basically the implementing agent, implementing the project on behalf of the department in that area. We can move to the next slide. So, Chair, this slide is quite crucial because we have now started grouping all those communities per pipelines. And I'm going to take a bit of time just to indicate here, if you can see in this table, number 1, it says the village number. We also have the bulk pipeline. We have the village name. Now, what you see there, Chair, for instance, if you count for pipeline A, you will see this village number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6, and then it ends there. And then you see the village name is that Tomo, Kakala, Gaula, Matlati, Dindane, and Formela, and as well. So what it means is that pipeline A, which you have seen in the previous slide, is linked to these 6 villages. And so is pipeline B, which takes villages from village number 7 until village number 17. And you see the names are also indicated there from Homo 14A all the way to the last village. So when you look at pipeline B, you know pipeline B will be getting water directly from the Giyani water treatment works, clean water, supply it to this pipeline B. Pipeline B then feeds these communities that are indicated here. And then you also know, Chair, will get to that stage in the next few slides, that all these villages from village number 1 to 17, as well as number 18 to 33, you'll also see in the next slide, they form part of the 55 villages which are being reticulated now. So the project is basically interlinked, Chair, that while we take raw water from from Nandoni and land that water in the canal, it gets to the dam. We then upgrade the water treatment works in Giyani from the current capacity now, Repabiti, to 30 megaliters a day. We then use pipeline A, B, C, and D. You'll also see in the next slide to take the water from the treatment works to feed all these communities. And further, is that in all these communities, there is a planned project which currently is underway. You will see that 24 of the villages are already getting reticulated, with the balance is going to be reticulated from the next financial year. So this is how the segments of the project are basically linked, Chair. You can move to the next slide. Can move to the next slide. So the next slide is just to show the balance of the other villages. There we stopped at 33, you've got 34, 35, 44, all the way to 55, and then we just swap them around. You'll forgive us for that. But safe to say that from village number 45, which is the Makosha, and all the way to Mninginisi, all those are fed from pipeline F1, this one F2, and so forth. So all these 55 villages are not in isolated planning chair. They are linked to the entire project. But also, what is crucial for me to say, to add here, Chair, is that the portfolio committee will remember that when the whole Nandoni to Same bulk line, as well as the upgrade of when the whole Nandoni to Same raw water bulk line, the reticulation of these villages was basically brought forward by the minister. After his intervention, the instruction was given that we need to accelerate reticulation of the 55 villages. So we had to run fast with the planning and ensure that Mopani is assisted by the department through our grants, that the reticulation for these 55 villages is basically done. In other words, we're going to have the bulk lines chair with clean water, but these communities were still going to struggle to get more clean water, because in those areas there were actually issues of water supply. So the extension or the acceleration of the 55 villages is basically coming in handy for those communities in Giyani. Let's move to the next slide. Can move to the next slide. It's quite slow on my side, Chair. I apologize. So, Chair, the overall progress for the bulk pipelines, pipe A, B, and all those 8 pipelines was sitting at 64%. And the intention is that they should be completed next year. And Chair, I think the question might arise to say, but why are all these pipelines or the bulk lines not completed? How are you intending to complete them? And Chair, I must put an emphasis that those bulk lines, those 8 pipelines, they are actually linked to our plan to phase in the reticulation of those 55 villages. And the intention is that when a particular block of communities get the reticulation, we also need to ensure that its supply pipeline or the bulk pipeline, whether pipe A, pipe C or so, needs to be completed by the time we complete the reticulation of that particular village or those particular group of villages. So this is how the system has been interlinked. And the reason why, Chair, it's planned like that is to avoid infrastructure that is going to be on the ground, never utilized for years, and it gets vandalized. And by the time we are done with the reticulation, the department or government now has to fund again and go back to refurbish some of that infrastructure. So the system or the project is integrated in a manner that it's not over costly for the department, and that we are doing it in a phased approach. This slide, just in summary, Chair, indicates the overall progress to date at 64%. And Chair, if I might say this, that you would have seen that we did indicate that the reticulation of the other villages you'll see in the next slide will come later sometime in the next financial year, starting after April or so. Meaning that by the time we are done with the reticulation, by the time we start the reticulation of the balance of the other villages, the bulk line services, pipe A, F1, and so forth, will all have been completed, since the planned completion is actually to be completed next year. So we are facing it in that manner, Chair. Also, the fact that we have factored in issues of procurement delays and so forth. We have had challenges for some of the subcontractors who were not performing, some demanding more money and so forth, and work stoppages on the ground. However, we are managing those issues, Chair, from the stakeholder point of view. Reservoirs are being constructed in some of those communities. You will see at the end of the presentation where we've included some of the slides as a proof, some of the pictures rather as a proof of what's basically happening on the ground. We can move to the next slide. Chair, this is just the risk mitigation, which I won't touch much onto it. Safe to say that we have had issues, of course, of a non-performance of subcontractors that I've spoken about, issues of the poor performance of our construction unit. This was based on the fact that sometimes, Chair, when construction unit on the ground, they were also hiring some of the services from the local service provider through our IA. And sometimes there were issues also with such, and it also had a direct impact on the project. But safe to say that there was the multi-stakeholder trust team which the minister established, which on a monthly basis deals with these issues. Chair, issues of the business forum, demanding work also were ventilated, but we must say that there is good progress. Of course, there are issues in every project, but the department, through our IA and Mopani, we are actually able to manage those issues, Chair. So those are some of the risk mitigation that we thought we should present to the committee. Let's move to the next slide. Chair, this slide is actually an extension of what I've already spoken about, of those reticulation of the 55 villages. We thought we should indicate and include this slide so that we can also let the committee see the direct impact. I will just pick one or two there, like number one, that reticulation for Tomo reticulation. We're talking a cost of about 47. This is what was planned in the business plan. And that project was about to take 64 weeks. And that is basically the target of the household. So this slide just indicates the project cost and also the duration of each project and how much impact that project is going to have in terms of the household to benefit from that project. Let's move to the next slide. Also an extension of the previous slide, Chair, indicating the number of households to benefit, also the budget attached to it, and also what the project scope is about. You can see, for instance, in number 19, you see Resenga View, 17.35 kilometer. And I'm deliberately saying Resenga View, Chair, because this is one of the communities there in Shukukwana which basically stopped that project because they needed water. So we must say that they have their own project aligned to that. Also some storage capacity. The value of the project is there, and that is the number of communities that will basically benefit from that project. Can move to the next slide. So, Chair, the current progress on the whole reticulation of those 51 villages is crucial to put an emphasis, Chair, that if you move just to the third bullet in this slide indicates the amount of money that has been allocated or planned specifically for phase one. Which one is phase one? Phase one, Chair, in the fourth bullet, is the reticulation of the 24 villages, which has started, and also that out of those 24 villages, 37 contractors, Chair, have been appointed through our WSIG funding grant of 6B. It is 6B, Chair, for safety reasons, on the fact that in the past, there were issues around Mopani in terms of the finance and findings and so forth. So the implementation of this project is under 6B, where the department holds the money. It then goes for due diligence. When work is done, we do the verification, invoices gets verified through their PSP as well as our regional office, led by Lucy. Thereafter, the invoice gets paid. So that is how we have put in the safety measures when it comes to the funding of our grant. Over and above that, Chair, the department, through the directive of the DG, was involved in also doing some due diligence in the procurement processes of those contractors to ensure that the department satisfies itself. Also, to add, is that our CFO has on several occasions been touching base with the CFO of Mopani as well as the MM to ensure that, Chair, we don't violate those DORA framework when we are managing those funds for this reticulation. So I felt it's crucial for us to emphasize on that point to ensure, to assure the committee that the department has put in control measures when it comes to the funding of this project. Chair, overall, 37 contracts are on the ground, on average is 38%, and the financial progress of the allocated amount is 25% thereof. And that, as I've said in the previous slide, there's a phase 2, which will mean that the balance of the 31 villages, phase 2 will start, and the plan is that it will start in the next financial year. This will generate 33 contracts. The current one has generated, Chair, in bullet number 4, 37 contractors, but phase 2 of the 31 villages will generate about 43 contracts when it starts on the ground. Let's move to the next slide. Chair, what is crucial to pick from these slides is a few issues. As I've indicated, that the rest of all those 37 contracts have been appointed. Some were appointed quite late of recent. Safe to say that the whole physical progress on the ground is sitting at around 38%, and also the financial expenditure is sitting at 25%. And I know now, Chair, there's a chance that a question might come to say, but how come in Ngobe A and Ngobe C we still have less progress as 0%? These are the last few villages, Chair, which were appointed of recent by Mopani, but the department is actually working with them to ensure. But the good thing for now is that all those 37 contracts, talking to all those 24 villages, have actually been appointed, and we are on the ground. So each project runs for 12 months. If you can see, for instance, you look at Bambeni there, which is the first village. It started in December. It should complete in January next year. And if you look at the progress on the ground, it's sitting at 96%, because that project started, was one of the first projects that basically started last year. So you can see the percentages for each project there but on average, all of them are sitting at roughly around 38%. We can move to the next slide. Also, Chair, of crucial, it's when these projects get implemented, how are the communities benefiting? And also, how are jobs being created on the ground? So this is just to show the beneficiation of the household per each project. In summary, in details rather, the job creations per each, and also the number of students that are being trained in those projects to leave the skills in the area. Also the safety reps, and also the number of emerging SMMEs, Chair, that are attached to each and every project. And you can see the numbers there on each and every project. You can move to the next slide. So, Chair, this is just to show some of the pictures on the ground. This one on the left just shows you the suspended storage reservoir. This one is in Bambeni, Chair, linked to the reticulation of those villages. The one on the right is the Mageba pipeline. You can see there. You can also see the dates which the photo was taken. This one was taken just now on the 19th of July in the afternoon. The one on the left was also taken in June. So these are quite recent projects that are linked to the current progress on the ground of those 55 villages. So we thought to assure the portfolio committee we should include few of the pictures to show progress on the ground. Move to the next slide. I think we're almost done now, if not the last slide. Can move. Quite slow on my side. It's taking a bit of time.
Yeah, you have already thanked the portfolio committee.
It is giving us thank you, Matt.
Inko, thank you. Inko, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Chair,
DG?
if I could.
Mamgunu?
Yes. I take it that DG is covered on the side of the department, departmental management of the projects. Just to make a comment, let me start with the negative one. The negative one is that, as you saw, Chair, the project was started, was completed of the dam, that is Nandoni Dam, was completed in 2004. That's a fairly long period. It's quite old. It's heading for 20 years since completion. We shouldn't be where we are, almost on all aspects. But we almost had to start with people who were relocated when the dam was built, because outstanding work started there. People complaining that we were relocated, we were promised this and that, we were promised this and that. None of those things have happened, and so on. So to a large extent, that has been cleared with the communities surrounding Nandoni Dam, and by and large completed, but there are still a few things that are outstanding. But what is good is that relations with the surrounding Omakhosi there have been restored, and trust built, so that when we say we will do this, they take us for our word, and we do them. But of course, it's not like everything has been done. For instance, you'll recall that 2 years ago, a young girl was, or a young woman, who was taken by, was caught by a crocodile in Chichombone, in one of the villages close to the dam, and went to her home, and we undertook that there are certain projects that we will do in the name, articulating to the families in that village around her home and so on. We haven't done that, but we are getting there, even though things are a bit slow. But on a greater scheme of things, the villages of Vembe, where the dam is, as Rismati showed, we were still quite low in terms of satisfying their demands. So when you look at Vembe from above, we think that that district requires a lot of intervention from the side of local government to make it workable, but that's just a wish on our side. On the side of what we have long decided that we need to intervene, not very far from what we've done in Mopani. We have the last intervention on our engagement that we are going to be having with Vembe, so that we take a final size up of what they are actually capable of doing, which we think is far more than their capacity, is far higher than their capacity. And therefore, how do we make up for the gap in terms of their capacity? When we engage with them, we will be engaging them, looking at them, exchanging whatever. But at the back of our mind, what we will be assessing is what are they actually capable of doing? And therefore, how are we going to make up for what they are not able to do? At a technical level, there's a young man there who is responsible, who is their lead person on water and sanitation under their MM. If you listen as it talks, you can go out convinced that things are going to, no sparks are going to fly. But when you have presence of your mind and you are listening carefully and you are assessing, you will see that there's very little that will actually happen from there. And therefore, we have to deploy some of capacitated office to make sure that there is a change, because it can't be that local municipality like Collins, Chavane, Makado, that are around and on quite a huge dam, they're unable to get water, and then local Amakusi are always in desperation. But that is so I'm saying for a dam that was completed in 2004, we shouldn't be grappling with these issues. We should be grappling at a high level with efficiencies, the billing, collection, and quality of water. Yet we're very far from there. We're just grappling with these issues. But we can't complain. We have a job to do, and we're trying to do it. The second point that I want to make is that our planning, as you may have seen, both for Vembe and for Mopani, has gone a little bit to a higher level. Well, sitting here, we know we've got to do the 60 megaliters, for which procurement is doing, to add on the 60 megaliters on the sites near the dam, just to add on available clean water that would have been treated. But we're already planning as well, even over and above that additional 60 megaliters for the targeted areas. And that's a better way of doing things rather than stop and go and so on. Malamlele is getting covered, but the other areas close to Nandoni are not as better off as Malamlele as we talk. But leave that. Planning is kind of, we're getting better in terms of that area of work, and then we're pleased with that. But going down to Mopani, the big pipe is now completed. So when people from Action South Africa go on TV and say they are going to be suing us for failure, we accept that with humility, that it is their right to go to court in whatever capacity. But the fact of the matter remains that we did undertook to complete the project of the main pipe, that component from Nandoni to Nzame by September last year. But we didn't, to an extent, anticipate that there was going to be a stoppage over a long time over the things that I've spoken about, that the community suddenly wanted to fight us on, to say, how do you take our water to Mopani, that is Giyani, and you leave us here, and you haven't even completed your relocation promises and all of that. So it was a combination of things. So we had to deal with them. And then it took us some time, so we couldn't meet our deadline. But we still are in love with the deadline of September 2022, because it was made in good faith. And it happens to all of us, even at a personal level, that you make a promise for yourself, you don't meet it for some reason or the other, either falling ill or something. So we came out, we went to address the public and said, we're sorry, we haven't met but here are the reasons, but we're moving on. Then that deadline shifted to March. we didn't quite make it right end of March, but we made it by the 5th of April this year. That finally the first drops of water from Nandoni got to Zame via pipe, via the tunnel, and then right into the dam. It did happen. And it was before 12 midnight. So if you go to court and say we set March, and then we made it on the 5th of April, and then it take us to court, well, we'll accept that and we'll go and defend ourselves and so on. But we made it. What is good now, as Smarty says, is the completion of river crossings and the removal of temporal connections, starting with the pump at the dam itself, the temporal pipe that were used to pump water, partly for tests and so on. By now, replacement of that by permanent equipment and crossings from above to below water on the floor of the River, and then the other smaller crossings. And that's, as it says, is complete. To us, that is quite an accomplishment, even though it's only in 2023. Which could have been done shortly after the dam got completed, or even shortly after the decision to pump water from Nandoni to Giyani was taken, 2014. But what we've done now is complete, and what is good is that it is once and for all. There won't be any other year that we will be talking about the pipeline having not been completed. It's now O&M in terms of that pipeline, including clearing the canal and really getting. So we have experienced that progress, and I must say, though belated, but it was fulfilling. It just to keep on going to people, going to the contractors, persuading them to speed up, promising people on the other hand, but finally it has been completed. And now we had to tackle refurbishment of the water treatment works, which as Smarty says, about 61%. We're working closely with Mopani monitoring and making sure that they do that work. And then the pipeline stopped. And then the pipeline as a whole in those villages. We are due to go back, and our main target when we go back will be reticulation.
Recording in progress.
Just to make sure we support, we encourage, we put pressure on everybody from Mopani to their contractors in terms of reticulation. We'll spend a whole day from Zame Dam just to look at how full or not, and then go to work in the refurbishment to look at progress, monitor progress, and then the pipeline. We'll spend the whole day just for that. So, the last thing is that just to make the portfolio committee on the shift that we've been talking about, that we really are working on the whole value chain. That's why we're able to make a presentation that starts from raw water in the dam in Nandoni, through the pipeline, in the case of Mopani, raw water, right through 49.5 kilometers raw water. Then ordinarily we would have said as the Department of Ministry, now we've delivered water to Nzame Dam, and then Mopani must then take over. But because we now have shifted and said, let's deal with the whole value chain to protect government, both at local and national level, the good name of government, we shouldn't stop at that. We should rather position the department to deal with the whole value chain up to yard connections, when people are able to actually drink water from their taps on their yards. That's our intention in terms of working, while recognizing other role players, of course, and what but scrutinizing what they're able to do, what they're not able to do. And in this instance, we noted that there were quite a number of challenges in Mopani, and instead of doing any other thing, we said, no, department, get in there, work with them, and so that we make progress. It's not as beautiful as we would have loved, Chair and the committee, but deep down in our consciences, we see that we're making progress, and we're making good of the promise that was made long ago that the people of Giyani will get water. We're not yet there, so we accept criticism when people go to TV to say this failure, that failure, about that. But while they say so, we turn it into courage and put more effort in completion, because we know that once we complete this and the first 24 villages, people will have less to talk about on the side of failure to complete. I noted Action South Africa, when they berated the President of the Republic for having gone there, undertook that people will get to it, or that we will complete the project, and saying that minister should be fired because we haven't completed. We took those comments seriously, but in reality, he had not listened to what we were saying, because we were talking about completion of the bulk line. But we went on to complete other components like the refurbishment, like reticulation. But if you look at all in all, not necessarily from you just look at it from the point of view of saying, how far are we from getting water to the yards of the people of Giyani? In the last 2 years, a lot of progress has been made, and we're closer now, far closer than we were 2 years ago, where there was no pipe to talk about. There was no Malamlele line of clean water. There was no reticulation, no refurbishment. And so we've made progress, and that's our case, Chair. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. No, we don't need those questions. There's a no, as wafuni siyazibonela. Don't ask them. Ungayibuza imibuzo lakithi siyayibona le msebenzi. Thank you very much, Department, and I think the unfortunate part is that we will, and I'm sure the mayor might have decided to come. If it didn't, he must still come, because we will want to hear him saying this progress is confirmed by themselves, because Minister, sometimes when you listen to people living here in Parliament, there are people who does not necessarily know what we are doing, especially in the Giyani project, who say something that is far-fetched from what we are doing. But I think this is what, if it can be, we did ask that at some point we must get a space, and I must now raise it here in the portfolio committee, that we want that at some point we must have a ministerial statement just to brief the people of South Africa about the work we're doing, especially in the Giyani one, because it has been a sore issue. And later on we'll come to the Mvubu and the others, just to tell the public of the work we are doing, whether good or bad, but of the work we are doing. And it is people who will judge whether it is good or bad. Because receiving this report, it is, to me, having been in Giyani more than twice, it satisfies your aspirations most of the time. But let me see whether there are hands that want to speak to the report before I'm sure the Mopani, we have asked you that you must get the mayor to talk to us. If the mayor is not there, we'll take the report as given by the department as a report. But for now, let me hear whether the members want to engage the report as presented by the department on behalf of Mopani. Let me see whether there are hands. There is the
Thanks.
no.
Honorable Chair.
Who is that? Who's that?
Yeah, that's MMC again. Honorable Chair, the executive mayor said he will join when he's done with the visa presentation. He's still in the US. So I think we will appreciate when you are taking a decision to say we'll take the presentation as it has been presented by the DS. Thanks, Honorable Chairperson.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, thanks.
So what what's happening now? Are we lost?
Chair, my hand is up.
We're still there. Our hands are up.
I've seen the hand of I've seen the hand of Honorable Mushala and Honorable who's that again? I'm lost. I'm just out. Just a minute. I'll put you.
My hand is up, Honorable Chair, Honorable Hendricks here.
I mean it. There were hands that were up before yourselves. It is the hand of Honorable Khanif, Honorable Mushala, and Honorable Tseki. When I'm Mushala, go on utswa meeting utori kalo no utsile meeting utsamaile.
Kinchaki kabakalaure halina service deliver hauna electricity. So when there's no electricity, re at sokola. As you can hear me now, I'm at the street. If I go back to the house, there's no network. I must stand here so that I can listen to this presentation. People have been looking for me, but because I've got the interest in this presentation, I'm here standing at the streets because there's nothing that I can do. So I agree with you. I'm in and out of the meeting because of the network. As it kicks me out, I log in again. So this is what is happening, Chairperson.
Okay. Honorable Hendricks?
No, I'm...
Honorable Hendricks?
Thank you. Honorable Chair.
I'm not done. I don't know.
No.
Are you starting?
It was not your turn yet. Your turn will come after Hendricks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, after listening to the minister not only has political will, but he has courage. And we must thank the minister for wanting to speed up things And it's largely because of the minister's intervention and your interest, Honorable Chair, that we don't have day zero in this former Bantustan. And the minister has to also look at the fact that the SIU managed to write a report that 2 billion rand was stolen. And I think they're still looking to find more evidence for the other 3 billion. So I want to know from the minister, the honorable minister, is there a parallel process to ensure that money is not continuously being stolen? Secondly, Honorable Chair, the contractors is our Achilles heel. Because of the contractors' incapacity, we've had these problems over the years. And I see that government has gone out of its way to assist contractors by even making sure that government upfront gets them the equipment they need and so on and so on. I would like to know from the minister, besides watching the money, if he's also finding ways and means to capacitate the contractors. We're stuck with them now. They've got the contracts, but we have to capacitate them. If they run out of funding for this and for that, if they don't have skills, if they don't have engineers, we can get these people from our comrades in BRICS to come forward and assist us. Then very happy. What we have, Honorable Chair, is we have a dam, we have a canal, and we have only one water treatment plant. So not only for this project, but other projects, I don't think it's a good idea to upgrade water treatment plants. Look, you can't create dams, but you can build water treatment plants. We should rather decentralize water treatment plants. So it's a matter of policy that the minister must please consider that we shouldn't go for upgrading. We should actually build more water treatment plants. And I tell you why I'm saying that, Honorable Chair. I'm saying that because if there are problems at a upgraded water treatment plant, it affects so many villages. Whereas if you have 2 or 3 water treatment plants in the pipeline, and the main one or the first one gives us problems, it doesn't mean that there's day zero in the rest of this former Bantustan. But I think that we need to thank the minister for his special interests. I read some newspaper reports that the minister promised water in September. We are now in September, so okay, so not maybe enough has been done, but at least if the deadline of September hasn't been met, at least the minister is meeting with the portfolio committee. All 3 ministers are at this meeting, which shows it's very important. And the minister has outlined why deadlines have not been met. I would like to thank the minister and ask him to continue having political will and courage and also being hands-on. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'm done, Honorable Chair.
Okay, I think it's my turn now, Honorable Hendrik.
No, it's Honorable Matala.
Oh, okay.
No, Chairperson. And then the team and the department. Chairperson, I would like to ask this question. Why the Department of Water, of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs was not invited to this meeting? Because they are the critical role player in overseeing the disbursement and spend of grant funding for water services provision. So if the department was here of cooperative service, cooperative governance, I think some of the things we will be able to resolve them amicably, or maybe they will be able, when they leave here, have an understanding of where the Department of Water and Sanitation is. We spoke before, Chairperson, of the district development medal, which was touted here as a panacea of everything. But it seems like that district development medal was just a theory to me. It is not working. Every time we come here, we speak about this thing of the district development model, the intergovernmental relations, so that our problems are solved with speed. So my question is why we did not invite them, because now we are speaking straight to the municipalities. It was supposed to be here as they are the ones that are holding those municipalities accountable. The second thing, Chairperson, I heard the minister speaking about the work they've done, the negative and the positive sides of the work they've done. Minister, truly speaking, the department is able to build dams, but the reticulation of water to the people is a problem. It's a problem everywhere in the country. Dams are built, millions of rands are spent, billions of rands are spent by this government. But for the water to go to the people is a problem. What we are experiencing in Mopani is not a first issue. It is happening everywhere. Go to the Hope Dam in Sekhukhune, Limpopo. You'll find a very beautiful dam, very big. But the people surrounding that dam, they don't have water. For that matter, I'm coming from Sekhukhune. We don't have water. There is a dam there. So if I can ask you, when was that dam unveiled? It's been a long time ago. You spoke about the 20 years of the Nantoni. The Huam Dam, I think, is also going to that years as well. There's no water to the people of Sekhukhune. The canal and everything, you can tell us you are building reservoir, but at the end, are the people getting water? No. So we need to be honest in terms of that. The people are not receiving water. I don't even think the people of Mopani are going to end up getting water, because last time when we were in Mopani, we were told about the 24 villages. And these 24 villages, there will be a completion state of this process, and the people will be getting water. We were promised that as you are living here, the state is now on 95% or whatever percent. We thought the people are drinking water now as we're speaking. But today, when I listen to the presentation, it seems like we are still in process of trying to get things right and give the people of Mopani water. Chairperson, on slide 5, on Nandoni, water treatment works upgrade, bullet number 6, has the implementation readiness study on the upgrade commenced? What is the interaction between Department of Water and Sanitation and Department of Kokta in addressing these water provision challenges? As this meeting is not addressing the root causes of different mandates of water service provision and the Department of Water and Sanitation as a sector leader. Chairperson, the other question is, how many more years will the Department of Water and Sanitation operate on this basis, on taking over functions and responsibilities of the municipality? The minister said here, when we were listening now, that is them as the department that are trying. But when you go down to the municipalities, there's nothing. It's like we are pushing wheelbarrows that doesn't know what to do. But they are there. They are receiving salaries at the end of the month. As ministers, as mayors, a mayor who doesn't come to the meeting, he doesn't even care. The last time we were there, he was not there. So we are trying to assist, but the mayor is not willing to receive to the people for the people of Mopani. So how many years, Minister, is going to take us this thing of taking responsibilities of these municipalities that are not willing to do their job? But if we have invited the Department of Cooperative Governance here today, they were going to be listening and see that the Department of Water and Sanitation is not, they are not going to take chances with us. They must go and do their work. Chairperson, the Regional Bulk Infrastructure Grant is a conditional grant. But how does the Department of Water and Sanitation oversee that conditions are met as part of its oversight role? Chairperson, the other question is the provision of high levels of reticulation services without parallel implementation of tariff policies have led to widespread supply failure. It appears as if Department of Water and Sanitation is using ARBIC funding for projects that expand supply by ignoring cheaper local sources, such as the boreholes, to justify the expenditure on large regional projects. However, this does not resolve the need for water supply. What alternatives can the Department of Water and Sanitation use in the use of ARBIC as opposed to the same old constructing large regional projects? Chairperson, you go all over, I'm in Northern Cape. There are a lot of boreholes that have been drilled by the department. They are vandalized, and some of them, they were drilled and not done anything. There are 2 boreholes that the other parties, like the economic freedom fighters, are now taking care of in Limpopo, somewhere in Sukukun. We found them abandoned by the department. They drilled, they say they never came back. Now we are putting a water pump, we are putting everything there, the tankers, for the people to drink water. Why we don't go to that approach? In the meantime, we are busy building these big dams. You go to Mopani, majority of those boreholes have been vandalized and the department is not taking care of those things. When you ask, you are told about security. What is security when you are a government? You are failing to take care of what you have built. What is security? Go and get security. It must be easy for you to defend what you are having. You can't always say that when are you going to build the very same dams you are building. The people will vandalize or do whatever. You're going to tell us about security. This thing of security must come to an end. You are a department. You must be a department that is capable. It must be a municipality. Let me say municipality. A municipality that is capable. A municipality that is able to maintain its resources or also protect its own resources at the same time. Chairperson, lastly, is there any move by the state to declare critical water and sanitation infrastructure projects as key national points with the necessary security to reduce the countrywide theft and vandalism of infrastructure, which impacts service delivery to communities? This question is related to what I was just speaking now. So can you please assist us in that regard? Chairperson, let's take this country serious. Let's make sure that we protect our people. Cholera and other illnesses are here now killing our people because of our irresponsibility as the government of the day. Thank you so much.
Chair. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think Comrade Musala, where good work has been done, I think we must praise. Where there are challenges, I think I hear you very much. Just on this beautiful work that the minister and his team are busy doing, the Nandoni water supply to all these villages. Where is the source of Nandoni's water? Is it running, or is it based on rain, or is it based on a well that continuously supply the dam? This is just a different question, because the good work that we are doing, Chair, may also be confronted by the dryness of the dam, depending on the season. And I think the minister said something on the cost recovery, which I have a question to say. In the long run, how do we, receive revenue from this water? Is it 100% free, or there are means in which municipality are able to pay for these projects that are done by the department? I question, maybe I can, just for remembrance, maybe I've forgotten it was said in the past. And when we were there, Chairperson, there was an issue of tapping on the pipelines for irrigation. And it was agreed, or we were told that the department will be engaging with the councillors, with the chiefs or the leaders of the community, just to avoid such, because it will actually not be a good thing in relation to the project or the intended future of the project. And on these boreholes that has been there, Chair, that are vandalized, I'm worried, man, that we are also, replacing some of them. But I've not heard anything in relation to law enforcement. We will replace things that are broken. Some are broken, by people that we know. And then we are replacing. And that is going to be a tendency of normality to say, no, here we can break and then not be taken to task. How do we engage on such matter? Or are there any people that in the report, whether municipality or the department, has taken to the law enforcement? Department Minister, the village will have about 2,000 people or households today. Tomorrow, or in 5 years, that village will be about 3,000. In our articulation, or in the support of us supporting municipality on the articulation, are we already developing plans for the growth of these villages? So that if our pipeline ended here, and then there's a need of an extension of another 2 kilometers, are we having a plan to say, how do we deal with that? To avoid new communities not having water. Minister, you just said something here. Well, this one was not part of my questions, but I just took from what you said on the crocodile attack and the promise that you have made to that community. And you are saying you have not done it. Can the minister give us when is that going to be done and what could be the source of the delay? Because I think it's one of the priorities, especially if promises were made under those conditions, so that to avoid this crocodile attack again. Those are my few questions, Chair. Thank you.
Unmute, Chairperson.
I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. And I'm saying, Minister, listening to the report, and I think the municipality is listening to what the complaints are, most especially by the member Mshala on the DDM. The DDM means that you will have a district development model. What does that mean? It means it's a one-stop shop. in that one-stop shop, you will have national department, provincial department, and a local government department. And that is why we are really fighting that the local government must be here. Because I know that Ulusi is representing the provincial government there in terms of the Department of Water and Sanitation. We are there as national. The municipality must represent the local leg of that TTM model. Yes, the view that did we invite Coxstar into the meeting? No, we didn't, Honorable Mhlala. To invite Coxstar must be a portfolio committee decision. And I hear you that now that you are saying in the meetings we must try to have them into a meeting. I hear you, but before today's meetings, there was ever no instruction to me to invite the Department of Coxstar to be part of this meeting by a sitting portfolio committee. It was going to be wrong of me unilaterally to invite the Department of Coxstar when you have not said so yourselves and you did not see a need thereof. But I hear you, and nobody is saying you are wrong in doing that. It means that the portfolio committee says you must have a joint portfolio committee meeting, and we will do that. Because it can only be done when there is such a decision by a portfolio committee that we need that. That's why we did not have. Remember, we went there alone. We went to Giyani, we went to Nandoni. We were not a joint committee, so we are getting a feedback of the work we did as a portfolio committee. So I couldn't, out of my just whim, invite the other portfolio committee into your meeting, and you end up with a lot of people talking against you in your own meeting where you did not agree to invite them. If this meeting says in the near future we must call Coxstar to be part of the meeting, we will do that. But remember, it is the Department of Water and Sanitation that bear the responsibility of supplying water to the people of South Africa. Coxstar is, of course, seeing to it that the local government is part of the process. But we must give water. So the fact that we build dams, and that's what our responsibilities are. The national department does not reticulate water. It must build reservoirs, it must give bulk water to municipalities. The municipalities must reticulate. Now, it is for that reason that we even allowed Mopani to do work. Yes, we said that we are going to take part and reticulate on their behalf, but it must be as and when we do work, not as a principle that we are taking over from them. It is their responsibility. So we must see, that's why we need Mopani to account to whether they are busy reticulating. If they are reticulating, what are the challenges? Given what the minister have just said, that there was, through Mr. Mate, that sometimes you've got the chiefs complaining. We also received letters from the other transitional councils complaining about the work that they are not being taken on board and support and so on. We were going to be interested in hearing from the district. What is it that they're doing in bringing in those issues into the fore? And I want to just second, Minister, the issue of what Honorable Sek is raising. This issue of Ubuntu, of the girl child who was attacked by the crocodile. If we can finalize it, it can be better. It is a good commitment you made, and I think let's deal with that. It is about Ubuntu that we are for as government of the Republic. So I think I must say we must speak more of what we are doing, and I think it will be important. That being said, I still do not see another hand on the platform. Let me see, there is none. Honorable Hendricks, there must be no plan of the Department of Water and Sanitation to take over from the municipality or to generally want to undermine the existence of the, or you are saying in terms of us just disseminating all the responsibilities and functions to the municipalities and let it be done there. You can see they are not capable of doing it. So if you simply disseminate this information to the lower level, there will be a big failure into the process. So we need to monitor them. And just as Mthala is saying, keep it within the DTM project. Let us oversee one another and see whether we are delivering to the people of South Africa rather than disseminating and stay aloof and believing that at some point there shall be houses and freedom for all. It can't happen. That slogan has proven not to be very effective. But we must remain government of the people, to the people, by the people, and to the people themselves. Honorable Minister, if I think we want to give it yourselves to respond to the questions and points by members, but I think we must appreciate the good work you are doing. We must appreciate the good work you are doing.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just number one, to deal with corruption. Yes, there are parallel programs that are underway via, in particular, the SIU. There is a case that is in court, and there may be different cases, but they are in court on a claim amounting to about 2 billion rand, with various individuals and companies all flowing from corruption in that has to do with the Giyani water scheme. It amounts to 2 billion all in all. So if they succeed on all the claims that they are pursuing, that's the money that they are looking for. Yes, so there is parallel. And then the other question was, are you doing something to prevent more corruption? Yes, to a large extent. We're doing our best to prevent, and in fact, it has toned down, but we're not taking anything for granted. We are fighting corruption. Number two, do you capacitate? I think DG will respond to that, but as far as I know, capacitation is via encouraging people to subcontract, and those who have bigger contracts to subcontract those who are small in localities and so on, and to make sure that wherever they are, they deal with local people. They don't bring their people throughout the country. That's what we're encouraging as a direction. I believe that we are making progress via that. In some cases, we really ensure as for labor, they also do the same. But capacitating, yes, we try to up to the best of our ability. But I'm not aware that we could do it via or maybe doing it via direct financing, as it were. The third question, don't upgrade, build more. I would say we'd rather have a combination of two. We're not necessarily saying one, because in some cases, there would be a genuine case from the engineering point of view. I'm not one of the engineers, but if you listen carefully to what they would be advancing, you may agree with them in some cases that, yes, here, let us upgrade. In Mopani, for instance, we found a water treatment works that worked for only 3 months, and it was almost at the state of collapse. We then had to listen to them when they said, this thing, you can't do anything about it, just demolish it, and then go and upgrade the old water treatment works, which is now 60% in progress. There may be nothing wrong from the engineering construction point of view, upgrading, but up to a particular extent. But I agree with the honourable member who says that at the same time, where necessary, do another water treatment works. If the scheme is bigger, you would that even when we upgrade the one that is there, it could be on the economic scales better to do so than starting afresh. But at the same time, it would be a component because normally, if you build another, you do an upgrade, you do it as a component rather than as just part of this one. And when we do the third one, it's a component, but talking to each other and so on. But I take your point that we always need to apply our minds and do things based on the evidence before us. But you make sure that schemes talk to each other and infrastructure does open up to each other, so that when there's a problem, you do bypasses and other things, you don't have a problem. COGTA, I must say that in the recent past, a couple of 10 months or so, we've experienced a very close working cooperation with COGTA to a point where they were called at some point in May to make end of May to make a presentation in terms of facilitating better functionality on the side of better functionality of municipalities. In the same meeting, we were called to make a presentation on how we want to remove impediments so that we can speed up our delivery. Now, we then thereafter agreed with Minister to synergize our two presentations via DGs, who did that via a number of meetings and workshops. They came back to present, were happy, they went to cabinet, cabinet adopted. It's a joint program where COGTA and ourselves work together. They, on the side of making sure that municipalities that are apparently dysfunctional are made functional, ourselves make sure we intervene, especially on the municipalities that got whose treatment of wastewater, I mean, scored less than 30, I think 30% or something like that. So, but we then, through the joint program, identified no less than 10%. Then we identified about 30 municipalities who scored very badly on the that is the green drop score. They got a score of less than 10%. Now, those 30 municipalities have been singled out with their plans, wastewater plans, and were operating together with COGTA to turn them around, the last 30. And therefore, that's evidence of us wanting to work jointly with them in this regard to improve their score on how they treat waste in their own areas and their own plans. So we're hoping to improve on synergizing with COGTA. But we're not going to wait for them. At the same time, we're moving ahead and are dealing with more other problems. I took delight when we were planning to go and intervene in the Tebini as a matter of urgency on Thursday. it's ourselves, it's finance, it's COGTA, on two major issues. And in the next 3 days, we'll be engaging with them because those issues have stalled for a while, and they're threatening quite a lot of aspects of the supply of water. So COGTA is joining, and we take it that's further direction to the right direction. We'll work together. I must say that Honorable Member Mushala was quite concerned about a number of issues on the supply of water. And somewhere you said you've been to Giyani and people were told they are going to drink water very soon, and now there's a report pointing to a different direction. I think if you took note of the slide where there's a long list of villages and percentage to completion, you would have noticed that the presentation is in order of completion to a large extent. For instance, headed by a village called Bambene, and home, among other villages. That village, Bambene, is about 96%. If Rismati could display it, that village alone, and it did say that it's because it was the contractor working there was the first to be awarded a contract, and therefore they're at 96% to completion. Now, what does it mean? It means that by the time we come back to the portfolio committee on the same matter, and I must at the same time say, I really commend the portfolio committee for focus, because I know you could have said, let's report, we want reports on many issues, but you focus on Giyani. And I think by the next time we get to focus on Giyani, we would long done with Bambene, and therefore we'll be reporting that that village is now completely covered in terms of water supply. So at 96% is progress. They may not necessarily, and when we say there's progress, it means that they are getting water, but not all of them. It means that the supply has not covered the whole of Bambene, but where we've already covered, it means that they have access to water. Yeah, and therefore it's not like there's no one who's getting access to water in Giyani, even via boreholes and other smaller schemes. People are getting water, but it's not the way they should be getting water, and in terms of reliability, in terms of quality. So what we are reporting is on the side of reliability, coverage, and quality of water. So in that regard, we are making progress, Honorable Member, as the report showed, that long list of villages at different, and it said were on average is 38%. So very soon we'll rise to 50 on average and then get there. We just need a little bit of patience. But I think all in all, we work, we follow one lesson that was told by a fisherman who came across a large number of hungry people, and he had just a rod which could take only one fish at a time from the river or from the sea, and then he would throw it to the crowd. And when one person came and said, "You are a fool, you'd rather just drop this thing. When will all these people get fed fish? Because you're only feeding them, you are only supplying one fish at a time." And this man said, the main purpose and the main focus is not the whole people. The main focus is how many people I am able to feed from this crowd. So if in a day I'm able to take 30 people out of the crowd and feed them, I sleep a happy man because I'm eliminating, I'm not adding. So even if I may not appear to be feeding everybody, but as long as I eliminate, I'm not saying we're taking that literally. We're concerned about everybody, but once Bambene is eliminated from the 55, then it will have been eliminated because of coverage, and we'll be happy with that. But we're getting there. As for your other comment about you coming from Sekhukhune, we may come back to give you progress on what we're doing about DWOP. There's a scheme called OMM, and it's covering a large part, more than any other period that has happened before, with water from DWOP and from Flag Boshelo covering both sides with that large scheme. Tuma, I think about June, the first, it's through a partnership that we have with the Water User Association called Libalelo. And we're now, the first project was a pump station, which was 3 months ago or so, 56% to completion. I'm sure they've risen to a higher percentage. So that it will be completed, and then we'll get to others, and we'll ultimately supply people, we'll supply water to people, to 38 villages around the Sekhukhune. Let me leave Arabic use how that question around Arabic, and I would want department to respond on that. Department vis-a-vis boreholes. I would request, Chair, that the honourable member give us the areas where you came across boreholes drilled by the department and then abandoned. It's unlikely that they are such. What could have happened is that there may be boreholes done by various districts, that is water service authorities. We really drill a borehole. We're not motivated by boreholes ourselves, except on extreme cases like Nelson Mandela Bay, where we encouraged drilling and even got Coca-Cola, and we got people like Gift of the Givers, and even ourselves at Kuhakopi drilling a few boreholes there in Nelson Mandela because of the desperate situation. But our approach, assuming that there are boreholes that are abandoned, and I would say almost all of them would have been abandoned by a water service authority, but not that we're encouraging them and don't want to do anything to do about such boreholes. We will cover them. If we could get the list that you ordinarily have, easily have, we'll combine it with an effort of hunting down these boreholes, because generally we don't want abandoned projects. We encourage water service authorities to look after them and to complete or to do something about them. And we would like to plead for that list so that we can follow it up. But generally on infrastructure and security, there's one example that we recently came across in our intervention in Mfuleni, when we spent a day just looking at various sites where we're working and to check progress in Mfuleni of our intervention 63. And I was quite delighted to see that in a number of now refurbished and upgraded and completed, because quite a number of these were going to be completed at the end of August. A number of pump stations and a number of other projects, especially wastewater plants, like the one in Leeuwkeel and Sebokeng. What Randwater has initiated is to provide one infrastructure for guards, which were not there. I'm talking about pump stations that had deteriorated to a point of non-functionality, and wastewater plants that had deteriorated to non-functionality as well. They've refurbished and they're refurbishing in some cases, upgrading and so on. But one of the things they add is a security guard, and they are putting armed people, and they're even putting dogs, security dogs. And that's something that we are looking at. But I was quite delighted by that, and they say, since they ventured into this, there are no cases of theft or of vandalism. I think we're going to take a note on this and see if municipalities can like the idea and assist, because I mean in Machabeng, for instance, they brought in people who they referred to as their security, and we said, with all the destruction, where was this security? And we asked whether they were armed, and they said yes, they're armed. And we asked if they had fired any bullet anywhere, even to the air, and we found no bullet had been fired. So there's vandalism on the other. There's a fellow who is armed, no bullet fired. Now, so it's cases that are frustrating, but we're approaching it. We're approaching this in a practical way now to say, let's encourage municipalities to really take a look at their infrastructure and make use of security people that they say they have. Otherwise, it will be a complaint all the way. Now, the last question I'm dealing with is whether, when we build infrastructure, we do provide for future plans, infrastructure plans, and via demands and so on. We do to a large extent. We really do. There are many examples. One example is the one that Risimati was referring to here, the whole of Vembe, requiring about 98 megaliters per day, but we're doing an upgrade via the second treatment plant, or next 60 megaliters per day upgrade. That would mean 120 where there's 98 demand, and therefore it provides for the future demand and so on. We try wherever we can to the best of our ability. I'll ask Rismati and DG to come in on the remaining questions and DM if she wants to make comments. Thank you, Chair. If you could allow that. Thank you.
Yeah, allowed.
Minister, perhaps if I could come in first, and then Risimati, and just answer a few, and then Risimati can do the rest. On this project, we've been supporting the contractors a lot in terms of advising them, and we've also been supporting the Pele Northern Water to improve its project management of the contractors. So capacitation of contractors is not only about doing things like funding contractors, it's also about managing contractors better so that they meet the deadlines. So on the one hand, we've been assisting Lepeli to manage the contractors better so that they meet the deadlines, and then we've also been directly engaging with the contractors to advise them how they can improve. On the issue of how we make the issue raised by Honourable Mohlala about how we make sure that the WISIG grant conditions are met, we monitor very closely on this project and on all of our other projects. Depending on the type of grant, we either check progress with money spent to date before giving additional installments. We don't give all the money to the municipalities at once. We give it in installments, and we ensure that the money has been properly spent on what it was supposed to be spent before we give further installments. And alternatively, with other type of grants where we're more closely involved, we even go as far as verifying that that work is done by individual contractors and service providers before their invoices are paid. In this particular project as well, to ensure that the money is properly spent and to partly answer one of the other questions about how we ensure that there isn't further corruption. With regard to the projects being run by Mopani District Municipality for this project, we've actually gone as far as having some of our officials sit on Mopani's bid committees so that we can keep an eye on the procurement process and make sure that the procurement processes are done regularly. And then there was a question from Honourable Mohlala as well about water and sanitation infrastructure being declared as national key points. Most of our large dams are already national key points. It's very expensive to maintain something as a national key point. There are very stringent security requirements in terms of both physical staffing in terms of security, but also in terms of perimeter and access control. So it's only feasible to do that on major large infrastructure such as the large dams. It's not financially viable to declare smaller infrastructures as national key points. And then finally, there were a couple of questions from Honourable Tseki. Honourable Tseki, we don't provide any water for free. We sell all the water, raw water, which we provide to either the water boards or to major industrial users. The water boards in turn sell the water to municipalities. So for this project, the Peli will sell the water to the municipality, and the municipality must in turn sell the water to the citizens, to the residents in the municipality. The municipality gets an equitable share allocation, a part of which the municipality is supposed to use to provide free basic water to the indigent. But the municipality has to use part of that allocation, as well as the revenues from the sale of water, to pay the water board, which in turn pays us. We then use that money that we get from the sale of water to fund further projects such as this. Basically, the water and sanitation sector is supposed to be self-financing, and it has to work that way if we're going to be able to do further developments. And then finally, with regard to the Honourable Tseki's question about planning for growth of villages, for example, there is a requirement in the Water Services Act that all water services authorities must produce water service development plans. And the purpose of those plans is to do exactly what you're saying, Honourable Tseki, to do medium to long-term planning for water services development to meet projected population growth. We do provide quite extensive support to municipalities in the development of their water services development plans. Marty, would you like to add?
Thanks, DG. Just to start on the last point you've just mentioned, is that one of the requirements that makes us to unlock our WSIG is that when the municipalities have made the business plan for funding, it's one of the requirements for them to also indicate to us through the WSDP which is actually in our DORA framework. So the DG is correct, Honorable Zeki, that we do take care of that. But just to also emphasize is that the current demand projections with the refurbishment of the current treatment works is basically going to ensure that the communities around those villages in the original state, they were actually designed, Chair, to at least get 25 liters per capita per day. So it means a person was basically supposed to get 25 liters a day. And this was based on the old communal standpipes where people had to walk a distance. But with the minister's intervention and this reticulation, the refurbishment to get that treatment works to 30 megaliters a day and the additional 10 megaliters a day, which will make that whole treatment works to sit at about 40 megaliters a day, has basically made the department to improve the level of service from 25 liters per person a day to at least 100 to 120 liters per person a day, meaning even if they do upgrades, there's future demand of whether they go full bond services and flushing, that infrastructure will be able to cater for that capacity and growth. So I thought I should just emphasize on that point, Chair. The one point that was raised by Honorable Hendricks on the decentralization of the water treatment works is that when things are planned, as the minister has mentioned, we take into effect the positioning of our infrastructure. There are areas where we use one big water treatment works, but of course there are also sub-water treatment works. Like in this case, we are upgrading Nandoni to 120 and further to 180 to supply most of the closer surrounding communities and municipalities. But then when you go further down to Giyani in this case, there's a treatment works where we are supplying it with raw water, but for it to carry the same function in the other side, which the Nandoni treatment works is doing, we then refurbish the treatment works, excuse me, as well as upgrading of it. So it's basically, we are working it in both ways, that sometimes we upgrade as well as the refurbishment. Honorable Mushala asked a question about the IRS in slide number 5, whether it was done. Honorable Mushala, it's in two ways. The current project, which means the upgrade from 6 to 220 megaliters, all the infrastructure readiness that they have been done, it has been completed, hence the project is now moving towards the procurement to appoint the contractor. The one you're talking about, which you have raised the concern, is going to be completed in December. It's already in line because the only time we can augment the further 60 megaliters from the 120 to that 180, that project will only begin sometime next year in April or so. So we are still in line to complete that, and then we can then augment that upgrade from the 120 to 180, as the minister has indicated, for future demand. So for the current, we're already done with that one. The issue of how the department is more like taking over the functions and assisting municipalities, the minister has already touched on that. And then there are big, I think those are the few key issues that I felt were left out for me to add, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
I don't see any other hand of further clarity. And I think we must appreciate, as I've said, the work done. And of course, to react on those that are reactable, having been raised by members, for instance. We must appreciate, Honorable Mikhala, if you say communities in certain areas, even though the minister is saying, please give us those where that has happened, but where communities, because remember, we are building this infrastructure for purposes of communities. Now, if the communities themselves are going to vandalize them and they come and demand that there should be security for them not to do it, that if there is no security, they will vandalize unless you put security, then it means we are not doing things for an order of the community. communities must guard against vandalism on their issues rather than them vandalizing with the hope that there shall be security officials who will injure them in any way. Remember, the security officers, they will use force and will injure some of our communities in the process. We have seen it where securities are killing people on the basis of them fighting against them when they are vandalizing their own issues. But I think, as Minister is saying, where we know, for instance, in Mopani also, quite a lot of boreholes have been vandalized. But there's been some communities that it is meant for them, unfortunately. But where the minister says, where we can see it, let's report it and let it be worked upon. And it's a pity, Honorable Muthala, when society in where we have been are reacting to the vandalism, you put it as an EFF work. No, it is the community of that area. Even if they are wearing red, there are still communities of that area that they are working onto their own project. I don't see a hand, meaning that the meeting is.
Honorable,
yes,
let me come.
Yeah, now I see your hand now.
Yeah, my hand is up.
Yeah, I see it.
Oh no,
Come
thanks
in.
so much, Mashigo.
Mabulela Mthala man. Ki. Yeah, she did indicate that she has got a challenge. I'm sure that challenge is growing. Mthala?
Mashigo, am I audible
Yeah.
now?
You are.
Yeah. No, I'm saying we'll work on the list and forward it to the minister if we have time. But we have already started as the economic freedom fighters. I'll first start with what we have done. Next time when I come here, I'll come with a presentation maybe of the boreholes that we dealt with them, and we found them left like that. I apologize for saying the department. When I did not say the department, I said the government. Government meaning the local government, which is drilling boreholes. And then when they get vandalized, they do nothing about them. Some of them, they were drilled. They were never even put anything on top. It was just a drilling. The two that were busy with, they were drilled, left like that. Closed on top, there was nothing after that. And you'll find out that they've already demanded that they've put pumps, they put everything, the water is with the people. So the next time I come, I'll show you what we've done with the boreholes that we are getting. And there are a lot of them. As I say, I'll bring them to you. I'll talk to the ground forces of the EFF to go on the ground and get more of them so that we mention them village by village. This village next to this place, there's a borehole drilled and left. This village, so we'll work on that program and we'll bring it forward to the attention of the department. That's why we say we hope if COGTA was here, because I think some of these duties are the responsibilities of COGTA. They were going to be able to go out and fix these things with immediate effect. Thank you.
Yeah, bring them as society, don't bring them as political party. It is the people of that area. The people of that area will identify them and send them. That's fine. It's okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Why do you put politics into the people's hands? It is just people who are working on the ground. So don't put them red in color.
Well, indeed, Chair, we would be encouraged by that gesture on the side of the Honorable Muthala. Perhaps we will join hands in raising the flag of the country, building our country together, even from defunct and neglected boreholes, as we do so, more as South Africans, more as members of parliament, joining hands to build ourselves. The other matters of political parties are just something that we can talk about later. But if Lady Mushala does that and all join hands in this effort, I mean, South Africa will be a better country tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm sure she hear that. We all will want to join hands in Mshala and answer the question of serving the people of South Africa better. Okay, thank you very much. I think the meeting, the item is now well done. I must mention, Minister, that I must raise this point. In the last meeting, we had Mrs. Soikos, who brought a petition. We responded to the petition. We promised to come back. Unfortunately, the following day, the very same petition was then raised as a question to the president. I was a little bit perturbed by that because then it was a double dipping of work that has been done. We're still gonna revert back to her in terms of I've seen your response, and I'm sure it's a well thought response. But I must say that I found it a little bit disturbing that whilst we are dealing with the petition in the committee, the very same petition is raised now as a question to the president, and it has been answered differently, unfortunately. But we will still respond to Mr. Zegers in terms of the response you wrote to us and giving us feedback on the matters. But I think we really need to not to double deep on the work because we'll end up being preoccupied by one item all the time. It's not necessarily correct. Thank you very much. The meeting has come to an end and the meeting stands adjourned. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much.